A trip to the dentist turned deadly for a southern Indiana woman. WDRB investigates reporter Valerie Chen uncovers how it happened and the changes her family wants to see.
That's one of my favorite pictures. It just shows you how close they were. And it was just them two against the world. Shanna with her sister. It's been very hard on all of us, her sister and brother. And then my mother passed away 30 days later. So
a mother's search for answers.
Really struggling.
Lisa Freiberger looks through pictures of her daughter,
who was at a birthday party.
42-year-old Shanna Wright.
And that's my dad in the background.
Remembering her smile and kindness.
Single mom, she did everything for her daughter and herself.
But their lives changed forever after Wright went to the dentist on June 30th of last year.
My daughter called me the night before and said she'd had this tooth that's been really hurting, and so she got worked in the next day to get it pulled or extracted and asked me if I could come with her.
People get their teeth pulled all the time, every single day. You weren't expecting this to happen.
Oh no, I was going to go back to work. It was the last thing that ever crossed our mind.
Freiberger says when they got to the office, Wright ran to the bathroom, sick to her stomach from the tooth infection. That's the last time she saw her daughter until
they were loading her onto the ambulance with the automatic compression machine, and then the staff said, "We need to get you to the hospital."
After being on life support for 5 days, Wright died on July 5th, 2022.
You should not die getting a tooth pulled.
This death certificate shows her cause of death as acute respiratory failure due to a brain injury from a bacterial infection of a tooth.
This is the second time in my life where I've had to represent a family that's been devastated by a patient who died getting a tooth pulled from propofol.
Propofol is a widely used anesthetic for sedation. It's the same drug that killed Michael Jackson.
If I was king for the day, it would not be illegal to give propofol in a dentist office on Preston Highway in a strip mall.
Her anesthesia record shows she was given that drug and naloxone, which is the generic name for the opioid overdose reversal medication.
He tried to give her some drugs, Narcan, to reverse the medications, which, you know, Narcan's really for other medications. And he said, yeah, she was vomiting a little bit when she came back, but it was just bile.
Freiberger filed a lawsuit against Dr. Jonathan Swope in Derby City Oral Surgery and others, claiming medical negligence. The location on Preston Highway is now named South Louisville Oral Surgery. The attorney for Dr. Swope tells WDRB, Dr. Swope provided appropriate care to Ms. Wright, but to comment any further would be inappropriate given the fact his care is a subject of a pending lawsuit.
I don't think they had adequate monitoring and weren't prepared for what could happen.
Freiberger says her daughter had a condition that restricted how wide her mouth could open and had jaw surgery as a child.
You can see that her mouth doesn't even open wide enough to hardly get in there to get the tooth out, let alone to be able to intubate her and get her an airway.
They were unable to intubate her in the dental office. They were unable to intubate her in the ambulance. They finally got an airway at the hospital, and by that time she'd suffered a noxic brain injury and was a vegetable and not salvageable.
WDRB Investigates dug through court cases and learned this isn't the only deadly dental case in Kentucky. On July 19, 2021, Elena Montenegro had dental implant surgery in a non-hospital setting and died from cardiac arrest and brain injuries on July 30, 2021. Her family is suing Louisville prosthodontic specialist and Dr. Ryan Wayland and a registered nurse anesthetist, Chris Ann Mosier, claiming that Montenegro wasn't monitored properly under anesthesia. Dr. Wayland's office is listed as permanently closed, and court records show he filed for bankruptcy. In a court filing, the attorney representing Dr. Wayland denies the allegations and is asking for the case to be dismissed. Mosier could not be reached for comment. Dental deaths are considered to be rare, but one study published in 2017 looked at 148 deaths across the nation over several years and said the leading cause of those deaths was anesthesia, sedation, medication-related complications. The study says on average, 2.6 deaths were reported per year.
This is twice in my 30-year career that I have represented a family who lost a loved one getting a tooth pulled.
WDRB has requested records from the Board of Dentistry on how many sedations resulted in hospitalizations or deaths. We're still waiting for that data, and the board declined an on-camera interview. But it did tell WDRB the operating dentist actually administering the sedation must have a sedation permit. WDRB checked, and both doctors Swope and Wayland have them. The Board of Dentistry added that there is a new sedation regulation aimed at providing stronger patient protections. The agency now requires at least 2 people involved in the procedure be trained in basic life support and advanced cardiac life support. Wright's family hopes no one else has to go through this.
I want to see changes made to where these type of drugs, propofol, are not allowed to be done outside of a hospital setting without an anesthesiologist present.
With photojournalist Stuart Hammer, Valerie Chin, WDRB News.
And if you have information about this story or any story you think our Investigates team should look into, you can email us at investigate@wdrb.com or call the number there on your screen, 502-322-1297.